Live, sir. Please start.
Yeah, is it visible? Shall I start? Good afternoon. Nikitji, shall I start?
Yes,
Hello.
please.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yeah. Good afternoon, all. Welcome to this today's webinar on the relaxation in holding board meetings and EGMs under the during COVID-19. So, friends, it's an interesting topic which is need of the hour. So, I hope all members and different stakeholders who are attending this webinar will be definitely useful for this topic actually. Coming to the topic, and before that, we all know that corporate person is a artificial and legal personality, and it got two hands. One is board meeting, another is general meeting. So when I refer the word hands, automatically we are got the alert in our mind about the COVID-19 alert, that is cleaning of our hands and keeping in hygiene condition. Yes, ma'am, friends, it is our duty and obligation to keep under these circumstances, follow the government of India instructions and guidelines from time to time. Not only by us, we have to ensure by our family members and society members also. So let's come back to the today's topic. When I refer the board meetings and general meetings, the board of directors and the shareholders are the two intellectuals with which the operations of the company run. When I said intellectuals, then for handling this webinar, for this topic, we need an intellectual speaker. So we have identified and one of the intellectual and a regular contributor to the ICSI, Mr. S. Sudhakar, C.S. Sudhakar Saraswatula. Sir, we welcome you, sir.
Thank you very much.
We'll start this presentation. Before starting the presentation, tradition, again to introduce the speaker. Nowadays, our Indian traditions are recognized across the globe, holding the hand and namaste. So one of the tradition is introducing the, speaker through his profile. Friends, apart from our members, though is familiar among the professional fraternity, but is other stakeholders also attending. There is a need for introduction of the Mr. Sudhakar Saraswatula. He is a fellow member of the institute, and in fact, is a double qualified both ICSI and ICAA. But his love and affection is more on CS Institute, so he's popular as a company secretary. And he got 35 years of industry experience, and wherein he handled secretarial, accounts, finance, and legal aspects. He is a continuous contributor to the ICSI. He was there in so many committees. Currently, he is the vice chairman of Secretarial Standard Board also. Previously served as a member of Secretarial Standard Board, and is there in other industrial bodies and associations also. With this brief introduction, I welcome Sudhakarji for this today's presentation. Before I request Sudhakarji to present, I just want to say some guidelines, rules. In fact, not rules, it's a request. It is like a Lakshmana Rekha. We are all in the quarantine. So for this presentation also, you are welcome to put the questions in the chat box. But that questions, let it be restricted to the topics which are given, that is board meetings and EGMs. Let the questions should be, very specific, interpretative and analytical questions. Don't cross the borders, because suppose if you ask about the AGM, because our topic is on board meeting and EGM. So if you ask the topic that may be relevant, but timing it is not relevant. Similarly, postal ballot matters like that. And further, I request not to go for imaginary situation, a hypothetical situation. We are already under the crisis. If you ask some hypothetical question, if suppose company is struck down, the power break is happened, what happened? These are the questions. Kindly restrict yourself and present the questions which is required to the extent of based on the MCS circulars and other related matters. Thank you very much. Over to Sudhakarji for his presentation.
Yeah, thanks very much, Mr. Ahlad Rao, and it is my privilege to get moderated by you on this webinar. At the outset, my sincere thanks and gratitude to Institute of Company Secretaries of India for giving me this opportunity and to share some of my understanding or thoughts on this relaxations given by MCA. Friends, that I am very sure that this phase will also pass out. Only thing is, it is a matter of time. We fought many wars. In fact, if we see the history of India, India has always struggled for the past so many, hundreds of years. And this is another calamity which we are facing. And I'm sure that it is a matter of time we will pass through this. Under these circumstances, under this lockdown situation, we have a lot of time available with us because we all have been virtually under house arrest. But it is up to us how we are going to utilize this time. So I am sure that let us make the best of this available time with us. I remember one quote of Alvin Toffler wherein he said that the illiterate of 21st century is not the person who can't read or write, but the illiterate of the 21st century is a person who can't learn. ICSI don't want us to be illiterates. That's why they are conducting and organizing these seminars virtually. One webinar is taking place these days every week. A lot of opportunities are being given to update our knowledge. And similarly, these two relaxations, the 2-3 circulars which have come, they are not permanent in nature. They are only short term. One is up to June and one is up to September. So what we have to do is we have to learn these circulars, what the relaxations have been given to us. And very soon we have to again unlearn whatever we learned today. And thereafter, again, we have to relearn the old provisions, whatever it was there. So it is not that simple a thought, but at the same point of time, it is not very difficult also that we all got accustomed to do this learning, unlearning and relearning abilities we have developed under the Companies Act 2013. Let me put a disclaimer before I start my presentation. The views, whatever I have expressing, are of my own and nothing belongs to the organization in which I am employed. At the same point of time, the views are also not the views of Secretarial Standard Board because I am the vice chairman of SSB, but I am not representing here the SSB. So the views are not of SSB views. At the same point of time, the presentation is to the best of my understanding of the subject because it is slightly complicated one. To the best of my ability, I will try to clarify the issues. Considering the pandemic caused by COVID-19 and special distancing and lockdown conditions, holding physical board and shareholder meetings have virtually become impossible. MCA had taken a proactive steps and proactive initiatives, and they have relaxed several provisions and has allowed the meetings through video conferences and other audiovisual means. In fact, my sincere appreciation to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs for timely taking these actions because virtually the month of April, most of the major companies, the board meetings starts and several listed and almost all the listed companies have to close their meetings before May 15th because within 45 days, the audited results have to be announced. Of course, some extensions have been given. That is a different question. But considering the situation, MCA has taken a proactive initiative and have relaxed the measures. There are three important circulars which have come. One is circular number 11. This is relaxation on time periods of board meetings. This has come on 24th March 2020. Circular number 14 pertains to the AGMs through video conferencing. And circular number 17, it provides clarity on certain issues where certain ambiguities or certain kind of difficulties were there in the earlier circular, that is circular number 14. So those issues have been resolved under circular number 17. Now let us talk about board meetings first. There are under Rule 4 of the company's meetings of board and its powers rules, there are certain items which were necessarily to be considered only at the meeting. However, in this meeting, the directors can join through video conference provided a physical quorum is present. Under these circumstances, what we are at this point of time, the physical presence, the physical quorum is next to impossible. Considering the situation, the MCA has relaxed that, and what they say is even the 4-5 items which are there under Rule 4, they have also been relaxed, and those items can be passed through video conferencing meetings only. But this is available up to June 30th, 2020 only. That means only for a period of 3 months this relaxation has been given. This means what? The financial statements, the board's reports, these are the two important things which we are going to approve during the month of April and May. And these two agenda items can be approved by the boards, and the board meetings can be held through video conferencing. At the same point of time, that circular number 11 clarifies, it has relaxed the provisions about the gap between two board meetings. As we know that the requirement of not more than 120 days between two consecutive board meetings, this has been extended by 60 days till next 2 quarters. That means up to 30th September, the time gap between two board meetings can be 180 days. That means what? Let me give an example. If you have your earlier previous board meeting, which was held on 1st January 2020, just take it though 1st January, normally several companies are normally having holidays, but still, let us visualize that your board meeting has taken place on 1st January 2020. As per the circular, your next meeting can be held after one, that means the gap between 180 days means 30th June 2020. This can happen. In fact, if you remember under the old Act, 1956 Act, we were to have only one meeting in a quarter. That 120 days gap in between two meetings was not there. That point of time, we used to take this interpretation on 1st January, you can have one meeting, and because that is one quarter is over, January to March. Another meeting you can have it on 30th June. So April to June quarter also you have another meeting. More or less that kind of a situation is coming now also. This is only two extremes actually. What I'm trying to say here is not to hold the meetings like this. But what I'm trying to say is that in case of any impossibility is there, say for example, your board meeting had taken place on 1st January 2020, and now you are not in a position to hold the meeting for whatever the reasons, then your meeting, even if it is taking place in June also, that is fine. But please remember one thing, this particular relaxation is available to you only up to 30th September. Means what? In case your board meeting had taken place on 30th June 2020, your next meeting has to necessarily take place in October, because that time, that period between two meetings should be only 120 days, not 180 days. You can take a note of this. Well, this is the relaxations given by the MCA as far as board meetings are concerned. Institute of Company Secretaries have also given some guidance on the provisions pertaining to SS1. There are a few provisions which are going to, that relaxations are going to get affected because of this. So in the guidance note, which was released on 3rd April, these have been clarified. First is the directors, 1.2.3 second para says the directors shall not participate through electronic board in discussions on certain restricted item, that is rule 4. Now the same thing has been relaxed. So this clause is to be read together with the MCA circular, and that as per the circular we can comply with. At the same point of time, I draw your attention also that in case Secretarial Standards and Companies Act, because of any amendments to the Companies Act, if the Secretarial Standards are not in alignment with the Companies Act, always it is the Companies Act, the provisions of the Companies Act and the rules thereunder, they prevails over Secretarial Standards. Because if you see that Act also is defined in the SS1 as well as in SS2, Act means that is Companies Act 2013 as well as your Companies Act 1956 also. So because of that, this MCA circular has come, whatever the relaxations have been given, they overcome this particular clause 1.2.3. Similarly, director specifies a particular means of delivery of notice and physical delivery of document. A director might have asked you that the notice is to be given hand delivery only, not by uploading it in the portal or in the electronic mode, whatever it is. At that point of time, we were supposed to deliver the notice in that way, he has specified that. But considering the difficult situation, if the documents are served through email instead of physical delivery, it is a sufficient compliance. The company shall hold at least 4 meetings, and minimum interval between 2 board meetings should not be more than 120 days. Again, the same thing, MCA has relaxed this to 180 days. So if you comply with that, it is sufficient compliance as far as clause 2.1 is concerned. Where a company is required to appoint independent director, and the independent directors meeting once in a financial year has to take place, the MCA has relaxed this also, and it says that in case independent directors meeting has not taken place, it shall not be viewed as a violation. Hence, it is not a non-compliance. So the same thing prevails upon clause 2.3. Clause 7.3.3 says that wherever the documents have not been circulated along with the agenda but have been tabled before the board, the same are to be initialed by the chairman or by the company secretary. When you are holding the meetings through VC, initialing is not possible. That's why what one can do is that once the normalcy is restored, those documents can be initialed by the company secretary and kept on record for the purpose of identification. Within 15 days of signing of the minutes, copies of the signed minutes are to be circulated to all the directors. Since, again, the same thing, considering the situation, even the signing of the minutes itself also is difficult. In case the minutes are signed by the digital signature of the chairman, if possible, you will be able to circulate it by through emails, you may do it. Or alternately, when the normalcy is restored, the scanned copy of the signed minutes can be circulated. This is as far as the board meetings are concerned. Just to recap that, the rule 4 has been relaxed. So the items like approval of financial statements, consolidated financial statements, board's reports can be passed at a meeting, and that meeting can be held through video conferencing. No physical quorum is required. Between two board meetings, the gap is 180 days, but that first one is applicable up to 30th June. That means rule 4 is applicable only for 3 months, that is up to 30th June. The gap between two board meetings can be 180 days. This is applicable up to 30th September. And as far as the independent directors are concerned, in case no meeting has taken place, it is not a violation. These are the main things as far as your board meetings are concerned. Now let us go to the extraordinary general meetings. Holding the meeting through video conferencing is not permitted under the Companies Act and the rules thereof. So for the first time, it has been permitted that, considering this again the same thing, the difficult situation under which we are passing through, holding physical meetings is next to impossible. At the same point of time, we cannot just for because of the difficulty, we cannot stop doing the business. The business has to continue. So certain decisions which are to be taken where the shareholders' approval is required, unless until the normalcy is restored, we cannot wait. So that's why MCA has taken a proactive initiative of permitting the extraordinary general meetings through video conferencing. Kindly take a note that AGM's annual general meetings cannot be held through video conferencing. Only extraordinary general meetings can be held through video conferencing. And these meetings, when you are holding it, you don't need to have a physical meeting, a general meeting which requires a physical presence of this thing. Such a meeting shall be conducted through a mechanism of postal ballot or e-voting. The extraordinary general meetings which you are going to conduct through video conferencing, it may be you may have a e-voting wherever certain companies are there where they have to extend the e-voting mandatorily. Certain companies are there is no need to extend the e-voting. So there are different procedures have been given for that, and let us see the procedure. So MCA has preferred this route without holding EGMs. That what I'm trying to say is, because if you see the circular, it says in case you want to hold the physical meetings, this is the procedure. That means to the extent possible, it says that it is advisable to conduct your meetings through postal ballot or e-voting only. But when these extraordinary general meetings are permitted through video conferencing, the items which are coming under ordinary business, that means your approval of financial statements, declaration of dividend, appointment of directors retiring by rotation, or appointment of auditors, the 4 ordinary business items, they cannot be done through the video conferencing. That means these are AGM items and you cannot do that through extraordinary general meeting. At the same point of time, in case there are certain business where an opportunity of being heard is to be given, that means what? As we all know that section 115 deals with a special notice. In case of removal of directors or removal of auditors, a special notice is to be given. An opportunity of hearing is also to be provided to them. That means even removal of auditors and removal of directors cannot be done through EGMs, through the video conferencing. Where EGMs are unavoidable, the following procedure has been prescribed, and this is applicable only for the next 3 months, that means up to 30th June 2020 only. The meetings which are conducted on or before June 30th 2020 can be conducted through VC unless until the same thing is extended further. The procedure has been prescribed in 2 parts. First thing is the companies which are required to provide e-voting facility, or some companies may voluntarily opt for e-voting. If you are voluntarily opting for e-voting, then you have to follow the procedure completely. Companies which are not required to provide e-voting facility. Now let us see the companies to provide e-voting facility mandatorily. As we all know that under 108, section 108 and the rule 20 thereunder, the companies whose equity shares are listed, they have to necessarily provide the e-voting facility. And similarly, every company having not less than 1,000 members, they too have to provide a e-voting facility. So these two companies, when they have to mandatorily provide the e-voting facility, the procedure which is to be followed is now as under. Members, that means the remote e-voting facility is to be given. That is, as per Rule 20, it is to be complied with. Members who have not casted their vote by remote e-voting, they shall be allowed to exercise their right at the meeting. At the meeting means the meeting which is taking place through video conferencing. This means in case of e-voting, holding the general meeting is mandatory and can't be dispensed with like postal ballot. Because some people have asked me, before this webinar also, several people used to call me for some clarifications, wherein I have been asked that if we are extending the e-voting facility, can we do away with the meeting? The answer to that is no, it cannot be done, because in case of an e-voting scenario, the people who are not able to cast their vote in the remote e-voting facility, you have to give them an opportunity to vote at the meeting. That means that vote is not possible on a show of hands. There was a kind of confusion in that circular number 14 where it was mentioned as show of hands. Because as we all know that in case of e-voting or in case of a postal ballot, one share, one vote, whereas in case of vote on show of hands, it is one folio, one vote. So you cannot mix these two. You have to keep it separately. That has been clarified in circular number 17. Companies may opt voluntarily to provide the e-voting facility but should follow the prescribed procedure. EGMs may be held through video conferencing or any other audio visual means. The video recordings are to be, the meetings are to be recorded and the recordings are to be kept in safe custody. Now, some people say that it is a very ambiguous, and a very cumbersome procedure. We don't know the technology and all those things. How can we record the meetings? But it is a mandatory provision. Video recording is must. In case you are holding the meetings through video conferencing, you have to take the recording, because there are several softwares are available now, and the recording is not a big thing as such, according to me. And these recordings are to be kept in safe custody. The time period is not given. For how many years this is to be kept? In fact, I have been asked this question also, that what is the duration for which we have to maintain it? Under the board meetings, when you are holding through VC, that time also you have to record that meeting, the proceedings. That recordings are to be kept up to the next audit. So maybe I can draw an inference from there, and I can say in this case also these recordings are also to be kept like that. But nowadays, all these recordings are digitally taking place, and digital space is absolutely not an issue at all. So what is the problem of storing all these things? Because these are all very, very important things, and holding an EGM through video conferencing. Tomorrow, if anybody challenges the meeting and all that, these are the things which comes to our rescue. So though that periodicity as such is not mentioned, as long as possible, better to keep those recordings. The public companies have to also upload the recordings in their websites, if any. In case, especially listed companies, more or less every listed company has to have a website. That means if the listed companies are conducting the EGMs through video conferencing, they have to upload the recordings on their website. In case of other companies, wherever they are having websites, they have to upload it. If they don't have a website, they don't need to. Convenience of different time zones shall be taken. That means in case you are having shareholders, especially in case of joint venture companies, if you are having shareholders who are in different countries, obviously the time zones are to be taken care, which is the convenient time they are to be taken care. As far as the Indian companies are concerned, where you have most of the shareholders of Indians only, then there is this particular thing is not much of an issue as such. Attendance through video conferencing or other audiovisual means shall be counted for the purpose of quorum. This is the main objective of this. You can hold the meetings through VC, and the presence through VC is also valid and counted for the purpose of quorum. The meetings shall be held through a two-way teleconference or WebEx, and participants shall be allowed and pose questions concurrently. I have no answer for this thing, how we will be able to hold a two-way teleconferencing facility, a VC, and because the minimum 1,000 members are to be allowed to attend that. In case where you are extending e-voting facility, you have to have such facility shall have a capacity of 1,000 members participation on first come first served basis, and where voting is not mandatory, at least 500 members are to be allowed. And when such a huge gathering, that means 1,000 people are virtually attending the meeting through video conferencing. How can we give that two-way teleconference and wherein they are to be allowed to put questions? I have no answer for that. Now, there are some shareholders who may attend the meetings without this restriction. That means even if the 1,000 members are crossed also, these shareholders are to be allowed to participate. They are the large shareholders. That means the shareholders who are having more than 2% or more shareholding, the promoters of the company, the institutional investors, the directors, KMPs, chairpersons of the audit committee and NRC committee and the SRC committee, stakeholder relationship committee, as well as the auditors. These are the people who will not be counted for the purpose of the 1,000 or 500 shareholders are concerned. Facility for joining the meeting shall be kept 15 minutes before and 15 minutes after the meeting. That means the duration of the people to join the meeting should be at least 30 minutes. It can be more than that, but it cannot be less than that. That means before the meeting starts, 15 minutes before you have to open that, shall be kept 15 minutes before, and then you have to keep it open up to after the meeting starts also up to 15 minutes. That means half an hour is the minimum duration, and it is advisable to keep at least before the start of the meeting for a much beyond 15 minutes. Before the date of the meeting, the facility for remote e-voting shall be provided as per the Act. That means whatever the provisions of Rule 20 are there for e-voting, you have to comply with that. Only those members who have not voted at the remote e-voting shall be allowed to vote through e-voting or on show of hands at the meeting. This is as per the Circular 14, and since 17, this vote on show of hands has been clarified. And surprisingly, there is a procedure has been given for the election of chairman again, unless the articles requires any specific person to be appointed as a chairman. For the meeting, the chairman shall be appointed as under. Where the members present are less than 50, the chairman shall be appointed in accordance with the provisions of section 104. That means at the meeting, which is taking place through VC, the total number of members who are attending the meeting is less than 50, or if your company itself is having number of members less than 50, then you have to elect the chairman as per 104. 104 means unless until the articles provide otherwise, the members personally present at the meeting shall elect one of themselves to be the chairman unless there is a poll demanded. In case a poll is demanded, the poll is to be taken forthwith. In all other cases, that means where you have more than 50 people present at the meeting, that point of time the poll is conducted through e-voting system at the meeting. That means e-voting is to be provided at the meeting. Now again there is a question. If it is a physical meeting, we are all aware of that. These days we are organizing the Insta poll. That means the tabs will be given, and the people who are there physically, they are voting that they are doing through Insta poll. Now when the members are attending the meeting through VC, how the e-voting facility will be given at the meeting? In case of where you don't need to provide e-voting facility, this issue has been addressed there. That means people can vote through their emails. When we discuss that, I will explain in more detailed manner. Maybe we can extend that facility here also. That is how only the e-voting facility can be extended at the meeting. Where number of members are present less than 50, voting may be conducted through e-voting system. This is already I have told you. Proxies. In case of video conferencing meetings, virtually it is not even at our doorstep, it is virtually at our desktop. So when the meeting is taking place like that, you don't need to appoint any proxy, you yourself can attend the meeting. In fact, yesterday somebody asked me a question that I am a shareholder in 4 companies. And all these 4 companies are simultaneously holding the meetings. Had the proxy provision be there, I would have appointed the proxies. Since it is not there, I have to attend one meeting, I will not be able to attend the other meeting, something like that. According to me, this is a hypothetical situation happening 4 extraordinary general meetings simultaneously. It is only a hypothetical situation according to me, because problem is, suppose say for example, if we are allowing the proxies, how you will lodge the proxies? Because in the proxy you have to even have you have to affix a stamp also. The signatures are to be verified, and you have to lodge the proxies. How you will lodge when the lockdown situation is there? And according to me, this is correct also, as I was mentioning, that video conferencing meetings are there, wherein you yourself can attend personally. Rightly so, the ministry has said that the presence of members is through VC and not physically. There is no requirement to appoint proxy. So proxies have been done away with only for this 3 months period. Please understand, whatever we are discussing is from now to June 30th only. After that, unless until it is extended, otherwise it will be closed. Hence, appointment of proxies is not available. Authorized representatives, yes, they can be appointed to attend the meetings and they can attend vote thereat. How the authorized representatives, they will send their representations and all, maybe that only by way of electronic mode they have to send it. Where institutional investors or the members of the company, they must be encouraged to participate in the meetings. At least one independent director and the auditor or his representative shall be attend the meetings. Notice shall contain clear instructions on how to access and participate in the meeting. There is a big chaos will be there. Obviously, the shareholders will not be able to understand how to attend the meeting. So you have to facilitate, you have to make them understand how to attend the meeting and how to conduct the meeting as reasonably as possible. So in a crystal clear instructions are to be given to the shareholders. That means you yourself have to prepare, first of all, how you are going to organize this meeting, and accordingly the instruction sheets have to be prepared and circulated. Company shall provide a helpline number to help the members. That means you have to give a helpline number. That doesn't mean you just give one number and nobody is answering the calls. It is reasonable. I mean, all precautions are to be taken that these helpline numbers are to be really dedicated and to help the members. There should not be mere a compliance, etc., tick box kind of thing. If you are holding the meetings through VC and you want your members to attend that meeting, you have to extend the full facility that members should understand the procedure and participate in the meeting. Copy of the notice shall be prominently displayed on the website of the company, and wherever your shares are listed, you have to intimate the exchanges. Companies which have already sent notices, in case they want to avail this procedure, they may adopt, provided they send a revised notice on a shorter consent basis. In case you are able to take shorter consent, yes, you can hold the meetings. Resolutions passed shall be filed with the ROC within 60 days. Now, as against 30 days, the relaxation has been given. So the resolutions, whatever have been passed, you have to file with the ROC within 60 days. Now let us see the companies which does not require to provide the e-voting facility. What is the procedure for that? To a large extent, the procedure is the same. Only to some extent, the deviation is there. They are also to hold the meetings through VC or other audiovisual means. As I mentioned earlier, such facility must have a capacity of minimum of 500 members or equal to the total number of members. That means if you are having only 40 members in total, all the 40 are to be allowed to attend the meeting. If you are having say 1,000 members, at least 500 members are to be allowed to attend. And similarly, the shareholders who are not to be counted for the purpose of this 500, like your promoters, directors, auditors and all, they are allowed. Participation shall be on first come, first served basis, except for some exempted category, means the relaxations wherever have been given. Company shall provide a designated email ID while sending the notice. That means whenever you are where you are not extending the e-voting facility, when you are sending the notice, in that notice you have to give a designated email ID so that the members can convey their votes when a poll is required. Because as I was mentioning, in case of a meeting which is being held through VC, you cannot do it on a vote on show of hands because all the people are participating. In case if it is a small company, maybe it is possible. Say for example, in your company you are having 20 members. The 20 are attending through VC. Of hands, that point of time also it is very difficult for the chairman how he will count it and all. These are all theoretically may be possible but not practically. So now e-voting you are not extending. So what is the way of, if the poll is to be taken, you have to extend the facility at the meeting. How you will do it? The way is that you have to designate an email ID, and that designated email ID is to be intimated to the shareholders, and those shareholders will send the emails. That means they are casting their vote by way of email to and they address it to that designated email ID. When a poll is demanded on any item, the members may cast their vote by sending email from their registered email IDs to the designated email. Means what? Members cannot, in fact, technically speaking, if you are the scrutinizer of a company, the mails which have come from other than the emails registered with the company, technically they are not to be entertained. That means what? If I am casting my vote through the email to the designated email ID, I should send my the vote through my email ID, which is registered with the company. Due safeguards with regard to authenticity of email IDs and other details of members shall be taken. That means what? It should not happen. People are sending in your name and your folio number or your client DPID client ID number and sending some kind of phishing mails to the designated email ID. That should not happen. So that's why all the safeguards are to be taken. That's why only those registered email IDs through that only you will be able to cast their vote. Where less than 50 members are present at the meeting, the chairman may decide to conduct the voting on show of hands unless a poll is demanded. Again, this is clarified under the 17th April circular. During the meeting where a poll on any item is required, the members shall cast their vote only by sending emails to their email addresses which are registered with the company. The meeting, if the voting is done through any other email address which is not registered with the company, the scrutinizer may reject or invalidate the same. Inspection of the documents. Another important thing is, in case when you are holding the extraordinary general meetings, obviously wherever the documents are referred based on which that resolutions are being passed, you have to give the inspection of those documents. Normally what happened is we used to give that physical inspection is possible at the registered office of the company or wherever it is, and some particular timings also we used to give it. Under this lockdown situation, since that physical inspection is not possible, you should be able to allow the members to inspect the documents through electronic mode. That means you can open a virtual data room wherein you may give it login ID, password to the members, where they will go log into that and then see it. Or alternately, you can put it on your website. Alternately, if you are not having any issue, you may share the documents. If you are in a position to share it, you can share the documents by way of an email ID to the people who wants to inspect the documents also. So it depends upon case-to-case basis. There is no hard and fast rule for this. But yes, what is the rule is that you should be able to allow the members to have the inspection by way of an electronic mode. Now let us see the General Circular 17. Primarily, this circular has addressed the issues pertaining to serving and receiving notices by post. In that earlier circular, the major difficulty in circular number 14, the major difficulty was it has not addressed the issue of physical dispatch of notices or physical dispatch of documents. So notices to members may be given only through emails registered with the company or with the depository participants or depository. That means now it is clear that if you are conducting a meeting, extraordinary general meeting through a video conference, you are giving a notice through through emails wherever the email IDs are registered with the company or with the depository or with the depository participants. The chairman has to satisfy himself that all efforts feasible under the given circumstances by enable members to participate and vote on items being considered. The company has to make feasible efforts, wherever it is possible, to collect the moment you are trying to conceive the extraordinary general meeting, whatever the ways and means possible. If you are having telephone numbers, you please send the SMSs to the members that we are proposing to have a meeting like this, get their email ID registered so that you will be able to send the notice to them electronically so that they will be able to participate in the e-voting, like that, so on and so forth. The public notice, at the same point of time, what happens is after sending the notices by way of emails, you have to also publish the notice, and obviously you have to also upload it on your website of the company. Wherever you are publishing the notice in the vernacular newspaper as well as in the English newspaper with a wider circulation, what are the information you have to furnish? A statement that the extraordinary general meeting is being convened through video conference or other audiovisual means in compliance with applicable provisions of the Act read with the Circular 14 dated 8th April 2020. Date and time of the EGM is to be given. Availability of the notice on the website of the company and of the stock exchanges. Wherever the companies are listed, obviously you have to intimate the stock exchanges, which in turn will put that notice on their websites. That is also to be given in the advertisement. The manner in which the members holding shares in physical mode or who have not registered their email IDs, who can cast their vote through remote e-voting or through the e-voting system during the meeting. That means if I have not given my email ID, if it is not registered with the company, how I can cast my vote? That is to be addressed. That means what? You have to advise them to get their the email ID registered with the company without any further delay. The manner in which email addresses can be registered with the company. This is what I am telling precisely. You have to have a kind of, within 2-3 days type like that. You have to have a mechanism by wherein the members who have not registered their email IDs, or if at all they have registered their email IDs, but there is a change in their email ID, they want to update their email ID with the company. What is the procedure for that? That is to be given in the advertisement. Any other information considered necessary by the company. See, when we are the company secretaries of the company, we have to visualize that what best I can do for the shareholder. Because this is the first of its kind that we are having to have this EC meeting, the EGMs through video conferencing. How best we can extend this facility to all the shareholders to the best of our ability and to the best of our intentions. That is ultimately is going to count. Notice to members may be given only through emails registered with the company. Copy of notices shall be prominently displayed on the website of the company. Chairman to satisfy that all efforts feasible under the given circumstances were taken by the company to enable the members to participate. Contact all members. That another this thing is in this circular number 17. The new provisions what have been further added is that contact all members whose email IDs are not registered over telephone and any other mode of communication to get their email IDs registered before sending the notices to members. If contact details are not available, cause a public notice by way of an advertisement to be published in the English and one vernacular newspaper. That means what? That as I was mentioning to you, contact all members means whatever the ways and means possible, you have to contact that. That means, say for example, you are having your R&D agent. Suppose Mr. A is a shareholder of your company, but you have not registered his email ID in your with your company. But the same Mr. A is holding another company's shares, for whom the R&D agent is the same, and there he got his email ID registered. That means what? When the R&D agent is the same, for one company the email ID is registered of the shareholder, and for the same shareholder, for whatever the reasons it is, he has not registered the email ID. So that means the R&D is to be instructed to compile, in order to run a program like this, that wherever he is an registrar or transfer agent, wherever possible, to collate all the email IDs of your shareholders, and so that you will be able to send this thing. So this is the way, one of the ways where we can take a feasible efforts to get the email IDs collected. Similarly, sometimes it may so happen you are not having the email ID of the shareholder, but you are having the telephone number of the shareholder. From where you got the telephone number? Because the shareholder might have written to you a letter containing his mobile number there in that in the letterhead of the shareholder. So at that point of time, send an SMS to him, ask him to get his email ID registered with the company so that you will be able to send the notice. These are the efforts what are to be taken. That is what MCA is looking for. If contact details are not available, yes, whether they are available or not available, because 100% it may not be available, you have to give an advertisement in the English and vernacular newspaper. The information to be furnished in the advertisement is that the company, what the advertisement is to be given, that the company intends to convene a general meeting and proposes to send notices to all its members by email after at least 3 days from the date of publication of the notice. That means what now under Circular 17 the MCA says is, because virtually it is dispensing the notices to send to the shareholders whose email IDs are not registered, because physical dispatch of notices is no more there. So under these circumstances, what happens is that to the extent possible, the facility is to be given to those shareholders who have not registered their email IDs. That means you have to give an advertisement stating that the company is proposing to hold a meeting through video conferencing. and for which it is in the process of getting that email IDs registered, and request the members to get their email IDs registered at least 3 days before that you are going to give your notice. To give email address, a dedicated email address, and similarly a helpline telephone number wherein the members may contact and get their email IDs registered. As I have mentioned that these email IDs and the telephone numbers are to be live. That means it's not like that, that nobody is monitoring that just for the sake of tick box approach. We have given these numbers. Several times it happens like that. Helpline numbers that never help the people. This is what the thing is. At least in this case, it should not happen like that. As professionals, we should take care of this. Now come to the last thing, that is postal ballot. This is another important provision. In case of Circular 14, we had a problem with this because that there the physical dispatch of the postal ballot. That means you have to, as per Rule 22, you have to send. As per Rule 22, you have to send the postal ballots, and then together with that, you have to also send the self-addressed envelope so that they will send the ballots back to you. All these things would not have possible in case of, because the physical things are not possible in the lockdown situation. So how to address that issue is the one. Now that MCA has clarified that in case of postal ballots, notices to members may be given only through emails registered with the company or with the depository participants or depositories. That means wherever the email IDs are not registered, technically you don't need to send the notices to them. That means physical ballots are more or less dispensed with. Company is duty bound to provide a process of registration of email IDs of members and state the same in the public notice. I am repeatedly mentioning about this. Tomorrow, God forbids, if some shareholder challenges your meeting or challenges the decisions taken there at. I am confident that though we are holding the meetings through VC as per the circulars also, it is not like that these meetings cannot be challenged. They can always be challenged. At that point of time, we have to defend ourselves that as per the procedure prescribed by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, to the core we have complied with everything and we have done whatever has been asked to do impeccably, then you don't need to worry. Suppose if you have not done any of these things, then at that point of time, definitely if you have been challenged, if you are not able to defend yourself, you will be in trouble. So the company is duty bound to provide a process of registration of email IDs of the members and state the same in the public notice. Communication of assent or dissent would take place only through remote e-voting and no meeting will be required. As we all know that in case of postal ballot also e-voting is to be given, where e-voting is mandatory, you have to give it that. So in case of a postal ballot, only the assent or dissent will take place through the e-voting and no physical ballot will be there. The poll will take place during the meeting. Members may convey their assent and dissent by sending emails to the designated email address of the company. Now it has been addressed here. That means if somebody is not able to participate in the remote e-voting, that in fact, where I'm talking talking about is e-voting is not mandatory. In such cases, in case of a postal ballot, the ballot is to be casted to the designated email IDs through the registered email IDs. Such designated email ID is to be circulated in the notice. Now comes to the final thing, that EGM versus postal ballot. Which one is convenient? As we know that postal ballot is mandatory for about 7-8 items, whatever have been prescribed. Over and above that, other than the ordinary business, and where that other than the ordinary business, you can conduct the postal ballot. So that point of course, here in this case, what is happening is wherever you have to give an opportunity of being heard, that even the e-voting, it is not possible. And considering the framework provided, according to me, the passing the resolutions by way of postal ballot is easier process than holding the EGM. Why it is so? Let me tell you that. Considering the framework provided for holding the EGMs and postal ballot, it appears that it is beneficial to pass the resolutions by way of postal ballot. Because in case of postal ballot, there is no need to hold the meeting. That means entire rigmaroles for holding the meeting through video conferencing, of recording the meeting, of giving them the to cash the ballot at the meeting, all these things you can avoid it. The cumbersome procedure can be avoided, which is to be complied in case you are holding the meeting. Wherever it is applicable, e-voting is to be provided anyway, whether you are holding the meeting or you are passing the resolution through postal ballot. If the e-voting is mandatory, you have to extend the e-voting. Even if the e-voting is not mandatory, you have to extend the facility of casting their vote by way of an emails. So there is no difference. So postal ballot and EGM given an option. Easiest thing is postal ballot, but there is one downside of it is there. What is that? If it is a postal ballot, you have to keep it open for 30 days. Because as per Rule 22, you have to keep that the ballots are to come and all up to 30 days. You have to keep it open. Whereas if you are holding the meeting, 21 days notice is to be given. Another 4 days is to be given for that transition and all those things. So total 25 days there. But now you are sending all the notices by way of an email only. That 4 days period is not required according to me. Maybe 1 day I may take it. So 21 plus 1, 22 days. That is sufficient. As against 22 days, you have to hold it for 30 days. So where EGM is unavoidable, if you are in a hurry, you can't hold that thing. You have to go for it. Of course, you can hold the meetings by way of a shorter notice. So that means what? Even 22 days also you don't need to wait. If you are able to take the consent of your shareholders, maybe you may be able to hold the meeting in 7 days' time. Whereas in case of postal ballot, that kind of relaxation is not there. You have to keep it open for 30 days. So you have to outweigh the things where you want to go. If you have time with you, by all means, postal ballot is advisable. If you don't have time with you, you have to have urgent matters. You are in a position to get a shorter notice and you want to hold the meeting immediately. Yes, that point of time you have to hold the meeting and you have to pass comply with the procedure whatever has been given there. Now, ICSI has also given a guidance on SS2 compliances also, which are more or less in line with the circulars given. So para 1.1 and 1.2.2 regarding the notice to be sent by hand or ordinary speed post or courier, wherever the provisions are there like this, they are all to be read with as if you have to send it by way of an electronic mail only, by way of an email, what is registered with the company. Subject, of course, to the compliance with other requirements, whatever are there. 1.2. See, let me tell you one more thing also. The relaxations have been given only to the extent it is mentioned in the circulars. As far as the other procedure is there, which is not touched upon here, you have to comply with as per the provisions of the Companies Act and the rules thereof. So now come to 1.2.4, venue of the meeting, notice and the route map, they need not be attached. As far as venue of the meeting is there, yes, you have to give the venue of the meeting. Though it is maybe a kind of a notional venue or deemed venue, but venue is to be given. Route map need not be attached because nobody is going to reach there physically. Inspection of the document, as I have mentioned to you, that electronic inspection is to be given. Attendance slip and proxy form, they are not required, but yes, whenever people are joining the meeting through electronic mode, that means in case of this video conference, at the time of that, you should be able to capture the attendance properly. That is very, very important, and an audit trail should be available. The scrutinizer, if you are the scrutinizer of the company, you should see that the attendance is properly captured at the time of. That means what? Okay, whenever you are logging in to the site for the video conference meeting, that is your attendance when it is getting captured. So attendance slips and proxy forms are not applicable. Quorum, yes, the quorum requirements are not dispensed with, so quorum is very much required. If you are having less than 1,000 members, it is 5, and 1,000 to 5,000, it is 50, and over 5,000, you have to have 30 members. That quorum is very much required. And para 5.1 pertains to the appointment of chairman. It would be sufficient compliance if the chairman is appointed as per the circular. Para 6, appointment of proxies, as proxy related provisions are not applicable because of the MCA. This is circular 14 has said that proxies appointment is not required. Vote on show of hands, again the same thing, process shall be as mentioned in the circular. Vote on show of hands is not going to be there in case of electronic voting. 7.4 pertains to poll. It shall be conducted as per the process given in the circular. If it is a poll is in 2 ways again, that one is that where you have given the remote e-voting facility, where you are not given the e-voting facility, procedure is prescribed, so it should be as per the circular. 7.5 talks about the voting rights, and to cast the vote, the person present in person or through proxy shall be construed as the person present in person or through VC. That's how it is to be read as, because through proxy is not there. So the person who is present in person or through VC, that means like in person, it is not like that everybody has to attend through the VC only. Maybe, say for example, in case of a company, the meeting is taking place and the venue which has been given, it may be the say one of the promoter's residence. So there may be one person maybe physically attending the meeting also. You cannot rule out the possibility. So that means a person who is attending in person will be counted for the purpose of to cast his vote. At the same point of time, the person who is attending the meeting through VC also is there. So they will be counted for the purpose of quorum and they will be able to cast their vote also. 8.6.2 pertains to display of voting rights, results in the notice board of the company. There is no question of any physical display. If you have a website, you display it on the website of the company. If your shares are listed, obviously you have to intimate the results to the stock exchanges, who will in turn post it on their websites. 17.5.1 pertaining to minutes. Minutes may be signed by the chairman digitally. If it is not possible, he cannot sign it digitally. Physical signature may not be possible. At that point of time, the minutes are to be signed when normalcy is restored. Perhaps that finally, I thought that in case you or me or the company secretary and we have to hold the meetings under these circumstances, what we have to do it. First and foremost thing is we have to have a thorough plan. Yes, do we go for postal ballot or do we go for extraordinary general meeting? As I have already explained to you, in case of postal ballot, the 30 days time period is there, which is not the case in case of a EGM. So you have to decide it, what is the call you are going to take it, EGM or postal ballot. If it is postal ballot, that procedure. If it is EGM, the other procedure you have to comply with. Second thing is one has to be proactive while planning. In case you are planning through EGM, to hold the EGM and to extend the remote e-voting facility or otherwise, whatever your company is falling upon. From A to Z, how you are going to start, where you are going to start and where you are going to end, that is it requires a proactive planning. You may apply a simulation technique. I always advise the people that whenever we do a thing that we can apply a simulation technique. Simulation technique means nothing but you are sitting on your chair and you are visualizing the whole thing, how it is going to happen and how you are going to address. In fact, I can say on the lighter side that recently my daughter got married. For her marriage, I have visualized everything sitting on my room and then I could implement that A to Z without any kind of anomaly anywhere to the best of my ability, and everybody who attended the marriage was happy. The same is the case here also when we are holding the meetings. What we have to do in the simulation technique means we can sit on our desk and visualize all the activities, what is to be done, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not like that you don't know, but just I am mentioning for the youngsters especially. Because what happens is, this kind of circumstances when it happens, that a kind of panic gets created, that under the normal circumstances we may be able to do the things, but when that our mind is disturbed and that panic is there and panicness is there, we may not be able to do the way the things are to be done. So that's why I'm telling that you can apply a simulation technique and then do that thing. Take all stakeholders into confidence. Means what? All stakeholders means you have to brief your directors, what is their role going to be, how is the aim going to be. You have to brief your chairman, how the meeting is said to be conducted, what is his role in that. If the poll is demanded, what will happen, how the poll will be taken. Similarly, the intermediary who is going to catch the meeting, how he is going to do it, and what kind of your what's called your network, your band without any interruption, you have to have that to attend the. But when he tried to attend the meeting, it is only buffering and nothing is happening. So these kind of events happens, and also he asked me how to challenge the meeting. So certain times these kind of things also will happen. Definitely, there is always a scope that somebody or the other may challenge your meeting at that point of time. How you are going to defend yourself, that also you have to work hard for that. Put in your best efforts. When there is a confusion, comply with the best of your ability. Wherever there is sometimes, it may so happen there is an ambiguity is there. The circular or the act or the rule or the provisions may be silent, whether to take advantage or not to take advantage. I always believe that whenever there is a confusion, it is better to comply. Finally, that don't try to circumvent anything. You always take that whatever the good work we do today, you are right, it will come to your rescue at the rainy day. That's why all precautions are to be taken. Thank you very much for your patient listening. Now that my presentation is over, now we can take the questions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Sudhakarji. As usual, is it audible? Thank you, Sudhakarji, for your excellent and lucid presentation. I'll reserve my comments about your presentation later. But let me pose some questions which we received from members. And before that, Sudhakarji, you are very well explained about the simulation technique with your daughter's marriage. I'm sure that those who are missed the invitation, they will definitely complain to you. That is a latter matter. Now, let me add the simulation, friends, which is a statistical technique where real conditional environment to be applied before it actually happens. This is what statistical says. It was generally used in the wars and other areas. And in fact, it's like conducting pre-final exam before going to the things or conducting a mock board meeting. In fact, today for this webinar also, we practice from the morning onwards, myself and Sudhakarji and administrator. This is what simulation technique. Like this, we have to, make a prototype much before conducting the actual EGM or board meeting. This is what simulation in precise. So more details we'll listen later. Sudhakarji, now a couple of interesting questions we received and I request to answer the same. Let's start with this 2 or 3 questions I consolidated as well. When we are working in the Secretarial Standard Board also, everybody asks, husband and wife meetings, 2 shareholders meeting, whether we need to conduct VC. See, before that, husband and wife both are in house quarantine. So where is the question of, VC? But anyway, over to you. What is the solution? Is it compulsory to conduct the video conferencing meeting when there is a possibility of physical meeting with social distance, especially when 2 or 3 shareholders are there? There may be in the same apartment or the same house, or a husband-wife meeting. What is the thing? Is it must? Is it mandatory to conduct a VC meeting, or it's option? Over to you.
See, it is an option extended by Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Holding the VC meeting does not mean you cannot hold a physical meeting at all. Okay. Why the VC meeting is because under the Act it is not permitted. Under the lockdown situation, it is physical meetings are impossible. But at the same point of time, this particular circulars 14 as well as 17, and these relaxations are applicable to all companies, private companies, public companies, listed companies, unlisted companies. To every company it is applicable. Yes, in a company you might be having husband-wife, and husband-wife are still in the same company, so that by the same house, obviously they can show a physical meeting. It is not like that husband is sitting in his bedroom and wife is in the kitchen and you are having a VC. No need to do that. But at the same point of time, if they are not on the talking terms, they don't want to see face to face and they want to have a meeting on VC, yes, by all means on the lighter side, we can have it also.
Okay. Couple of questions. Can we conduct this meeting through WhatsApp audio-visual mode? There is the option.
Well, audio-visual mode, yes, WhatsApp comes under that if you are able to record it.
Okay.
You are able to record it and how many people you have the members. It all depends upon that. I cannot say yes or no. It all depends upon that. Say, for example, if you are having 20 members, can you add 20 people on WhatsApp? I have no idea about that. I'm not that tech savvy. If you are able to do that, suppose, say, for example, you have 4 people and you are able to take them on a VC through WhatsApp and you are able to record it. If you are able to do that, yes, by all means, because other audio visual means what? Audio is there, video is there. So WhatsApp is one of the audio visual things. Yeah.
So nice. I understood the point. There should be audio visual, audio and video, and second thing, there should be recording. These 2 condition precedents are complied.
Sir, one more thing also. Yes, whatever that thing you have recorded, that is you should be able to store it. Okay. That also is very much required. Okay.
And a couple of other questions are there on the software also, which software is that I'm not mentioning because we can't promote any company like this. Now coming to, you have referred the listed company, sir. So in the listed company also, you mentioned about 45 days and 60 days, how to do the compliance linking with the board meeting and disclosures and publication of the newspaper. Can you please elaborate on the listed company, on the periodicity, publication of the newspaper and other compliances relating to that, linking with this?
See, as far as the listed companies are concerned, what I have mentioned is that within 45 days they have to publish the quarterly results, or within 60 days they have to publish the audited results in case of year ending, right?
Okay.
Now SEBI has relaxed this also. They have given about a 1 month time for that particular thing also. So that's why as against your 31st May, now it is up to 30th June. I think 1 month extension has been given. Okay.
Mm.
So SEBI has given that time period from their point of view. But unless until that between two board meetings that MCA relaxes that, you will not be able to do it. So in fact, somebody asked me a question. I have to comply with Companies Act also, I have to comply with LODR also. Unless until both the regulators give the same relaxation to you, you have to, if the other relaxation is not there, you have to comply with that.
Okay. See, now, thank you, sir. Simple question: who are the invitees for the meeting? Board meeting and EGM. Simple
EGM,
question.
only the invitees can be your auditors, your scrutinizers. Though they are not members, you can invite your auditors to be there because they have to be present there. Similarly, that your directors may not be your shareholders. They have to be there, especially your chairman of the audit committee, chairman of the NRC committee, chairman of the SRC committee, they have to be there. Scrutinizer, he may not be your shareholder, but he has to be there. Right? So these are the people as far as your EGM are concerned. So we don't call them as invitees, they are virtually more or less like invitees only. You have to extend that notice to them also. As far as the board meeting is concerned, as far as the board meetings are concerned, who are your invitees?
Okay.
Other than the directors and the company secretary, anybody and everybody are attending the meeting, they are invitees only.
I think
that means even if your CFO, CEO, merchant bankers, or your other employees, even at the senior level people also, everybody, Company secretary is the only person in attendance. You don't need any invite for that to attend the board meeting. That's
right, sir. This point clarified in the sectoral standards also. Got it. And I think debenture trustees also, they can be treated as invitees. Debenture trustees.
See,
for the
debenture trustees as such, they don't need to attend the board meeting. Suppose if the board wants to invite them for a pardon? Yeah, general meetings, yes. Debenture trustee, yes. As an invitee, they may come. Correct.
Anyway, members, you please refer SS1 and SS2. This part is very clearly, dealt with there, and including guidance note also, it was very clearly mentioned. It was the effort of, some senior members like Sudhakarji. It was ready. That part will be there. Sir, now question on registered email ID.
Let me tell you, since you are touched with the secretarial standards, let me tell you that.
Yeah.
It is very clearly given in the scope of the SS1 as well as SS2 that in case of any amendments take place in the Act or the rules thereof, you cannot amend the secretarial standard simultaneously. So we normally amend the Act only once in a year. After that, every amendment, it is to be approved by the MCA. That takes time also. So it may not be happening simultaneously. That's why we have very clearly clarified that always the Act and the rules prevail over wherever the conflict is there. It is the Act and the rules prevail over the standards.
Sir, you referred about the registered email ID. So how to know that can be registered even 2 days before also practically if company agrees, that is okay. What happens in the case of institutional investor where a nominee is attending or a representative, authorized representative on behalf of the company attending, which email ID, whether it is personal mail ID or company mail ID, how to deal this problem at the registered email ID?
If it is a e-voting scenario and the authorized representative is attending, the way we are doing at this point of time, he has to send his authorization to the scrutinizer or to the company or to the RNT, the email IDs, whatever we are given, he has to send his authorization. Now, suppose, say, for example, he is an institutional investor, that means a private equity investor kind, that e-voting is not mandatory. So, that point of time, what happened is he has to get his email ID registered with the company. And he has to send his vote and he has to send his authorization through that email. Whatever the email it is immaterial, whether it is organization's email ID or your personal email ID, if you are registering with the company. Obviously, you cannot register your personal email ID when you are representing your organization. Your official email ID only you will register it. Through that email ID, whatever you are registering it, you have to send it. Yeah.
You mean to say that registered email ID of that investor or company, they have to send the nomination or the details through that email ID, correct?
Correct.
Fine, sir.
Correct. Company has to take the cognizance of the validity of your vote. How it will be able to take the only confirmation what it has is your registered email ID.
Okay. My straightforward question: Is there any which provision of the act which says, you must register the email ID with the company? Is there any obligation on part of the investors to have a email ID first and also to register with the company?
See, technically speaking, that as such, there is no provision that mandatorily you have to register your email ID. If you don't do that, you are the sufferer under these circumstances. Now that MCA has taken a call, considering the prevailing circumstances, what it has done is ultimately you have to send the notices only to the people who have registered their email IDs, and for others, you give a notice in the newspapers. If you don't read newspaper, you don't bother to give your email ID to the company, but you are still an investor in the market, you have to suffer that.
Okay. Sir,
Yeah.
you mentioned in the presentation also about the
That's why,
proxies.
sorry, one more thing I will say. That's why if you see RIL annual report,
Okay.
and every correspondence of our to RIL investors, we always advocacy, we will do it. Get your email ID registered, get your telephone number registered with us so that we can send you SMSs. Whatever is happening in the companies, we can be in touch with you, we can communicate with you.
So friends, members, those who asked this question also, please recall from the 2007 Green Initiative was started by the NCA during Mr. Mittal, who was the secretary, keep on giving this type of circulars, Green Initiative. At that time also to promote and encourage and motivate the investors and shareholders to over the email. Okay, that may be the clue. And it is a facility. In fact, it's the right of the shareholder to attend the meeting, but this is okay. Sir, now coming to the other question, little bit deviation, but question is if a creditors meeting is to be supposed to be called under section 230 and 232 as per the direction of NCLT, what is the solution right now?
See, I mean, this circular is silent about it, and similarly, there is a difference between the court convened meetings or the tribunal convened meetings and the extraordinary general meetings. So I will take it like this, that these circulars are confined only to the EGMs, not for the your merger meetings.
Fine, sir. I think they have to take, they have to file application with NCLT, take extension of time only. That is only the solution I feel. Okay. Coming back to
or alternately approach the tribunal that ministry has come with a circular like this, and you take permission to go as per the procedure prescribed by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. The tribunal may agree.
Fine, sir. There are a couple of other questions which are not, again, in the beginning only I explained the rules of this meeting, rules on the questions also. Some of members asked KYC and other things. I don't want to trouble because that is not under the purview. I'll forward to the institute, let the institute make a representation on these matters actually. And again, back to the question and again to the listed company, it's a very pertinent question. Listed company not able to publish its news in the newspaper about the notice and other things, but publish on its website. Is it sufficient for the compliance?
It is very clearly mentioned that you have to publish the notice in the vernacular newspapers. See, for example, nowadays, even at some pockets of the country, the physical newspaper is not being published. In such cases, what you have to do is, but digital newspapers are there very much. So you can publish the advertisement even in the digital newspaper also. And digital newspapers nowadays, virtually everybody is reading it.
Sir, your entire presentation is for the company secretaries, but still some members want, what is the role of company secretary in precise and in specific actually?
What is the role of company secretary?
In this, specific role, though it is the entire thing, we are the persons who will conduct this board meeting and general meetings, but still question came, what is the specific role of CS in this and the responsibility and liability?
That virtually, according to me, for holding board meetings, for holding shareholders meetings, it is only the company secretary who is responsible. It is the only company secretary's role wherever it is there. Because he is the virtual karta darta of everything. He is the kind of a pandit, in fact. He is the groom on that day, he is the bride on that day, and he is the pandit on that day, and he is the person who has to perform the marriage. That's why I say that you don't get panicked, thorough with the subject and have proper planning and then implement it. It's very, very important, this thing. See, Agadra, I must say one thing definitely. One or the other mischievous fellow may challenge your EGM. He may say that, look, you have not given notice to the physical shareholders. He may even challenge the ministry circular also. You cannot stop him. It may happen. If it happens, then definitely you have to, the company has to defend itself. How you will defend? You will say, yes, the procedure prescribed by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, the regulator who is there, who is regulating me, I have complied with that. That point of time, definitely, whether you have complied properly or not properly, that may come to your acid test. So you should be able to withstand that. That's why I always advise the people that in true, not only in spirit, but in the, not only in the letter, but in the spirit also, you have to comply with the circulars, whatever the procedure has been prescribed.
Sir, in the beginning of the
I can
circular,
add one more thing that, normally there is a dictum is there, justice should not only be done, justice should also appear to be done. So similarly here also what you have to do is, I have complied with the law. That is not sufficient. You should be able to establish that you have complied with the law. The documentary evidence is very much required if it is challenged.
okay. Sir, last two more questions. One question is there, in the beginning of the circular, it was clearly mentioned this circular is meant in extraordinary or exception situations or special circumstances. These provisions has to be used. Suppose if the transaction of the business is on the conversion or acquisition of LLP by a company, can I conduct EGM and do this?
See that, in fact, if you are acquiring a business through a slump sale, not through the NCLT process, it can be done. So that means what? It is virtually 181A, right? You can pass the resolution through this EGM. You can do it.
Fine. That's nice, sir. Sir, your presentation also specified, as well as in the notification also clearly specified, that proxies are not allowed. Is it right to appoint proxy? Is the right to, right of the shareholder? Do you feel that one is a deviation of the law?
See, this is what I also mentioned, that right to appoint proxies. Okay. There are 2-3 places it is, I don't know whether it is, yes, it is definitely deviation of law, because in the law, it is not permitted to hold the shareholders meeting through VC. But yes, whenever there is a difficult situations are there, when it is physically not possible, so that point of time, what happens is that, in fact, see, there is, I think, there is one doctrine is there, lex non quasit ad impossibilia. Means what? It is doctrine of impossibility of compliance. Okay. Whenever this kind of impossibility of compliance is there, both the regulator and the person gets regulated, they have to do their best. That's why whether MCA is empowered or not empowered, but they have given a circular, and as far as the companies are concerned, we have to comply with that. Till the time we are complying with that, according to me, there is no issue at all.
Okay.
Because see, one thing is very clear, the situation, nobody has envisaged. This is the force majeure situation. This is an act of God. Under the act of God, I have to conduct my business. I have to run my business. So that point of time, I have two options. One is that, to hell with the shareholders' approval, I will do whatever I want to do it. Can you do that? You can't.
Okay.
So I have to comply with the law. I have intention to comply with the law. And the regulator facilitated me to the best of my ability to get to comply with the law, which I am doing it. So no issue.
Thank you, sir. And in the beginning of the presentation only, I told intellectual is required for the discussion on the intellectual inputs with intellectual members and other participants. You proved. Now I understood that why you are a sought after leader and thought leader in the corporate laws, because of this presentation, of course, with earlier interaction on the SSB also. Thank you very much on behalf of our members for your patience in time allotment and
thank you very much. Thank you very much to you and to all the members for your patient listening. And the final remark, I will say that I read somewhere that in fact, I think today's my LinkedIn posting is that information is power and knowledge is strength. Let us attain both. ICSI is doing its best to give us these kind of opportunities when we are in a lockdown situation. Let us take best of our ability. Let us share our knowledge. Because at the same point of time, I have been also read somewhere, all the people who are listening are to be more intelligent than the person who is speaking. And I am very confident that all the people who are listening me, they are intelligent, not only intelligent, they are brilliant than me. And I am sure that I am able to withstand to their expectations. To the best of my ability, I try to clarify the things. Still, if anyone has any issues, and most of the people, several people know me, my number is available with the institute, my email ID is available with the institute. You can write to me, you can talk to me. To the best of my ability, I will try to clarify as much as possible. Thanks very
That's
much
great,
once
sir.
again. God bless you all.
Yes, sir. Sir, once again, on behalf of our members, thank you to you, and also on behalf of our council, appreciation and acknowledgement for your continuous support and service to ICSA, sir. And thank you very much, sir. Please be with us for two more things. And friends, that's all for today. But stay tuned with ICSI. We are taking so many initiatives. Our president and council members are very particular that we should continue our services to the members as well as continue our efforts also, institute efforts continuously. See, we are sharing knowledge capsule. We're conducting webinars like this, and we also coming with so many ideas. And some of the questions, though I screened because that is pertinent to personally or professionally. For example, one person is there on the central government DP guidelines. What is the solution? One practical question came. They served the postal ballot notice, and by the time lockdown was situation, all these questions is difficult for a speaker because this forum is meant for the interpretation and analytical notifications also. However, recently we initiated one expert advisory board concept, which was there earlier also. We changed and modified the terms, and it is available. Any pertinent personal and professional question pertaining to any company, you may write to the institute, the expert advisory board, and it got intellectuals also and experts, so that they will give the specific answer to you, like in the SEBI informal guidance manner. Same manner, you will get the answer very specifically. That is also we reintroduce. That is for the facility under this, especially a crisis situation and COVID situation. Friends, we as a professionals, we have to stride and create our own path for our finding out the solution. Please, lockdown is there for the physical distance, but unlock your ideas, thoughts, and strategies, and create and help to the clients and the corporates, giving the different strategies, risk mitigation strategies, and solutions. You plan yourself and organize it in this time. As a PCS, as a company secretary in practice, we got enough time. We always complain there is no time, boss, but we got enough time right now to spend the time with the family, to organize ourselves, to find out the pending works, which may be domestic works or office works, anything. Enough time is there, friends. And as a governance professionals, it is our duty to follow the central government norms and also to motivate others. I reiterate and repeat this, and do the service to the community to the extent possible. But take care of you, and take care of the things. Stay back at home and be safe. Shaba Khair, and wish you all the best, and utilize this time. Thank you very much for
Just
your
one more minute.
Yes.
I take that apart from ICSI, I also thank your IT team who have facilitated this webinar in an impeccable way. Absolutely,
Yes.
They were after me since morning. You know that very well how many mock trials we have and all. So my sincere thanks and appreciation for the IT team of ICSI. Thank you very much, and God bless them.
Sir, thank you very much, sir. In fact, it is my duty to, both IT team and our secretarial team who are supported this, because of, more than 10 people are worked for this from last 2 days.
Okay.
That is the reason. Our fellow council members and including president, everybody, we are allotted time for this actually. And sir, we are not able to give any memento, but we can say namaste. That is again in the tradition.
Okay.
Namaste to all the members
Thank you
also.
very
Thanks for
much.
joining
Thank you
with
very
us
much.
and be in touch.
Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you.
Anytime for ICSI. Thank you very much. God bless.
Right. Thank you. Over. That's end of the thing. That's end of the webinar session, please.